He has a 1-1 count. That one's struck high. Left side. That one's going. That's out of here off the line. You have to be kidding me. Fireworks. Here you go. Welcome one and welcome all inside High and Tight, the flagship show, part of the Iowa Baseball Network that covers, well, baseball across the high school, college, and professional scenes, always with that Iowa twist as well. Again, I am your host, Andrew Brown, helping you along through and having a great time. Again, so great to be alive in this time of baseball, right? We have a lot of fun, and if you're not familiar with the show, this is our time where we, again, highlight Iowa baseball. We will go ahead and give you week 4 highlights, some big things that came around, and even from this week into week 5. We'll also give you our performances of the week. That's right, our biggest performances from week 4 that were not only nominated by you, but voted on by you as well. And then, of course, we've got a lot of great videos. Big time blast, which seemed to litter week 4. We get the chance to dive into that with a whole lot of fun as well. Plus, we have a phenomenal conversation with Anderson Schirm out of Pella High School. He has gone through and noted down everything he does across us every day. Something from every day of his high school journey has been noted down primarily on Instagram, where you can go ahead and check out. Everything's put down, everything from what he's eating to off the field drills, on field drills, training, strength training, and a whole lot more. And we got to talk to him about how he came to be with that, how that whole mindset to notate every single day what he's doing, or at least part of what he's doing. And so it just really is a cool take into the mindset of someone who is so cerebral in the game, as well as just physically rocking it. So again, we get the chance to catch up with Anderson Schirm coming on up here later on in the show. But as always, please go ahead, like, subscribe, please spread the word. This broadcast brought to you by the great folks at the Log Cabin Greek Steakhouse in Galena, Illinois. I urge you to check out everything they have going on there. Again, at Log Cabin Greek Steakhouse. I mean, truly great food, phenomenal people. I mean, they help to bring us our broadcasts each and every week so that everybody gets the chance to dive into that and have a lot of fun with us. Again, we love comments, conversations. We love to dive into this sport. I mean, it's exciting, right? Why not? So again, please go ahead and give a big shout out to the Log Cabin Greek Steakhouse there. Again, get a chance, get a reservation there. You will not be disappointed. And also, as always, please send stats, highlight videos, comments, and more to iabaseball1 at gmail.com. Great way to get in contact with us. And again, if you want highlight videos shared, we want to share them with you. So get them to us, and also social media. We're around everywhere you can think of us. Of course, that does mean Instagram, Facebook, YouTube right here, as well as Twitter or X, however you want to say that. So plenty of ways to reach out to us and get in touch with us there. But for right now, ladies and gentlemen, let's start the show. And I always like to start the show with some big things that happened across the state. And really, first thing, umpires make the game, guys. They make the game what it is. And I love this humbling story here. Casey Christensen, shout out to you, and shout out to Henry as well. Father-son duo getting together to umpire high school games here in Iowa. That's amazing, and truly showcases what Henry is all about. Because not only has he done a lot of things on the wrestling scene, but he was a big part of North Polk and their huge run in football this season on the gridiron. Had a couple touchdowns. Yep, and of course a defensive mastermind as well. And then what does he do? He turns around, becomes an umpire, and heads off with his dad for a fantastic, what is a fantastic season. They do a fantastic job, absolutely phenomenal, and can't thank them enough because in the end, what we love more than not is to have guys who can give back to the game. And again, Henry, thank you for what you do. Casey, as well for you. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you again. And this is what we want. This is all what it's all about. So again, thank you guys for making this game so great and helping to make it so amazing and the best show on dirt here in Iowa. Also, got to give a shout out here. This happened this week, but still something big, and it was Mount Vernon, the Mustangs. They started the year in the rankings here for IA baseballs in their preseason and into week one rankings. Man, what a phenomenal journey that it has been for them over the last few years. But they had something big happen recently. And yes, while they did go ahead and sweep Clear Creek Amana, which, by the way, game one, down 9-4, stealing their way back and winning this one in dramatic fashion, 11-9, showcases what they're all about as a team. Also, going ahead and shutting the door in game two, that is something spectacular. So, again, you got to love that. But beyond that, perhaps the biggest storyline here, guys, is Colin Bentley. And I say that because Colin Bentley has now etched himself into the history books as the program's career stolen base leader. He has done phenomenal work. He is now top of the pile, the stolen base king, the master thief of the Mustangs, and he has just again rocked it. What a season he is having! One of the top 30 stolen basemen in the class. And he is, again, rocking it to a T. So, again, congratulations, Colin Bentley, on making his name forever in the Mustang history books. But as well with that, we can't just go without mentioning that. But also there was another big win that happened across the high school scene, and it happened with Pella. They ended up picking up their 17th win over DCG since 2012. And while the Mustangs had the edge overall in that series, what a win it was for Pella to continue to push as they look to get to another state tournament trip here back-to-back for them. Again, 13-12, an absolute thriller for them as they go ahead and just rock it there. Again, that was your storylines here, brought to you by Log Cabin Greek Steakhouse. If there are any other storylines, let me know. Hit us up, iabaseball1@gmail.com. We want to hear. We want all of that. So give us your storylines, anything big, and your highlight reels, right? Love those highlight reels. So as always, I'm a big fan of the long ball. I'll be honest with you on that. I'm also a big fan of defensive highlights. Was there any big defensive gems? Let us know. Hit us up there. We've already shown you a couple of them from our Target Field game, which, by the way, I always enjoy going to Major League stadiums and calling games there. It is absolutely phenomenal. Can't thank the teams in Clarion, Goldfield, Dows, and Bishop Garrigan enough for letting us tag along and, again, catch an amazing experience. And I urge anybody out there, any program, if you're questioning it, it's worth it. In the end, it's worth it because how many guys get to say that they hit a double off the wall in a major league ballpark? You may not. Most of the teams may never get the chance to say that again, if not ever. So again, the fact that you had several guys, again, one individual with 2 triples on the day. Phenomenal, again, out of Bishop Garrigan. It was a phenomenal outing, and it had everything. You know, it had an early lead from the Cowboys, late game surge here by the Bears, and if you didn't get the chance to catch it, you can head on over to IA, well, right here, actually. You can head right here and hit up Bishop Garrigan versus Clarion Goldfield Downs, and that will be the Target Field game. Again, phenomenal at that. But as well, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we love all of that and the highlight reels. And you know what? I already gave you some of mine from earlier on this week, again, or last week, again, from the Target Field game between the Cowboys and the Bears. But I have even more here for you that happened across that last week and a little bit of this week in our newest segment that we like to call Amazing Scene This Week. Check it out. Here we have the one and only Brooks McCarty, who I swear to you guys is unreal, out of this world, and the bat flip is grade A, 100%. Love it. That's what you want. The energy, again, unfortunately, audio didn't come through there.
Our second annual father-son Father's Day catch here. Great turnout. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 22 dads. Playing catch with their.
Yeah. Isn't that bad? More than 5 hours.
Coach wants that baseball. Cat's going to win 10-0. Give it up for Coach Meyer. Win number 200 in his career. Congratulations, Coach Meyer.
3 balls, 2 strikes, no outs here. That'll be pieced into center field. That'll at least be 1. That's to the gap. That'll bring in 1. That'll bring in 2. That'll bring in 3 here for the bases.
And again, that has been our amazing scene this week, brought to you by the great folks at Insolites and Insolites.com. They're the LED insulated light that you can see from up to half a mile or more away, guys. So no shocking yourself anymore, right? No doing any of that. Just get the fence working right. Pick place onto any type of post and fence out there. And voila, you got it rocking. So again, those are just a few of the many that we got to see. It included a Lake Cowman blast, his 3rd of the year. They're also 3rd for Kason Claiborne at Sioux City East. And Mac Driscoll with his first home run of the 2025 season. One of several to come yet for him, I'm sure. Again, a lot of great stuff going in there. Plus, Coach Myers' 200th victory as he currently is with Durant and that great baseball program there. So again, congrats there. And as well, not only to him, but Coach Harpanaugh for earlier this season on his 400th win for Remsen St. Mary's. Stegman as well for Grinnell. We got the chance to catch up with him and catch up with, again, the man who leads Grinnell baseball in his 300th win, what that felt like, and many more. So there are others. Coach Pat Brown out of Grundy Center, again, got to give a salute. 100 wins is always a tough thing to do, so congratulations on that milestone victory as well. Also, before we get any further with this, ladies and gentlemen, have another announcement here to make, and that includes, if I get the chance and get it set here, make sure I need to download if I need to. But we will have a big thing coming on up, and I say big simply because we have a big event. I'm just wasting time here to get to it here. Anyway, here it is, and we, ladies and gentlemen, will be right here when it comes to the Lynx and their annual trip to Tall Anderson Field. We'll be there. We'll be broadcasting at least 3 out of the 4 games, if not all 4. And so a great chance for you to get in touch and stay with that. So if you have anybody that's there, we'll cover everybody at least once, from the Black Raiders to Glenwood to Valley, of course, Council Bluffs, Abraham Lincoln as well. We'll be there broadcasting again, as we always do. This would be our 3rd year from Tall Anderson Field, the University of Omaha, Nebraska. So again, we'll be live, loud, proud there. That'll be June 28th. So make sure to check us out. If you can't make the Saturday trek, make sure to catch us up right there as well. We'll be there catching the whole thing. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to show you, boom, Party Animals. If you're a Savannah Banana fan, I am. And I'm a big traditionalist in the sport of baseball. Absolutely love it. But I am a Party Animal through and through. So again, go Party Animals. Let's rock it. For now, though, I am always a fan of those players who are very much cerebral with the game of baseball, who know the baseball just as much as they can play it at a top level. And I'm always interested, how do you get to that point in your mindset? How did you arrive there? What goes through your head? Because honestly, it's so amazing to think, because while others may think, okay, this play is done or this game is done, you have some guys thinking it through. Okay, they're looking at it from a different angle, or even looking at a game live through a much different lens than we are. And I'm always fascinated by that. And one guy who is constantly looking at it from all angles is Anderson Schirm out of Pella. I got the chance to sit down with him to talk about his journey that he has chronicled on Instagram from really the first day he hit high school all the way up until now. He continues to do it. Little videos here and there of every day. Every day there is something on what he's doing to better himself, whether it's eating right, whether it's training on or off the field, weight training, just the simple mindset of the game, also what he brings to the table outside of all of that. And so we dive into a lot of that, and we get the chance to pick his brain about tips, tricks, things that that he looks at, that he thinks you should be looking out for, and just things he's learned along the way. Again, he's college bound, and I think it's well worth a listen. So let's go ahead and dive into that conversation with Anderson Schirm, backstop for Pella Baseball. Take a listen and enjoy.
He has a 1-1 count. That one's struck high. Left side. That one's going. That's out of here off the ropes. You have got to be kidding me. Fireworks. Here you go. All right, thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for continuing on our coverage here on High and Tight.
again, we cover as much as we can, and we hope you have a great time. Whether it's performance of the week, amazing things seen this week, of course, great conversations had there as well. And you know what? Speaking about great conversations, there's one that we want to have right now with a guy in a backstop that's absolutely excelling in this 2025 year, but not just with what he's doing on the field, but as well off of it, taking us through the catching world, tips, tricks, and more. And we get the chance to speak with the one and only, and he hails out of Pella. And obviously, the Dutch are doing great right now. It's a fun baseball to watch, exciting, thrilling, and the guy behind the dish helping to make that possible. Anderson Schirm, we get the chance to have a great conversation with. We've talked with the old man himself and Mr. Schirm. We get the chance now to dive into a guy that if you haven't been following Anderson on Instagram and you're a catcher, you got to do it. And I say why? Well, simply put, here as you can notice when you get there, as you can see, man, there's a lot of great content in there, and we're going to dive into that. But first, the one and only himself, Anderson Schirm, joining us here on the hotline. Anderson, man, thanks again for taking the time. I know that you come off a grueling schedule. You're already busy guy as it is, so thanks again for taking the time for us.
Yeah, no problem. I'm excited to be here.
Well, first and foremost, man, I got to ask, I caught wind of you a little while back on Instagram, and you are a guy who chronicles a lot of what you do, from the workouts to different techniques that you go through, and I find it fascinating. One, what spurred that on? First and foremost, you're a guy that we can see, and you excel. We see what you're doing outside off the field, and then when we see what you're doing on the field, it adds that holistic approach to it. How did you first think to get the idea to kind of chronicle what you were doing?
Well, it kind of started when I was scrolling Instagram, and at first I saw a basketball influencer, and he kind of chronicled
Uh-huh.
his journey, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." And so when I saw that, it kind of piqued my interest, and I was like, "Well, a basketball player's doing it, so maybe I can do it for baseball." So
Yeah.
I kind of started making the videos then, kind of filming my daily, like my breakfast, my training
Uh-huh.
throughout the day, and so I saw a basketball player, and that's kind of how I started doing it for baseball.
And it truly is what you put in there. You're very regimented. You're very serious about it. You go through, but you give context to it. It's not just I see so many out there. It's like, here's what I'm doing, but you give context behind it. You know,
hmm
how important was that to not just show it, but hey, here's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, that was really important for me, especially because like I think about like eating, which is something I posted a bit. It's like people need to like are gonna want to know why I'm eating certain things. Like you
Mm-hmm.
want to know why you're getting macros, so I should explain like why I'm drinking this protein shake and why I'm getting
Yeah.
all these calories and things like that. And then with training, it's like when you go, for example, practice hitting. Obviously, I do a lot of catching, but when you're practicing hitting, you got to have like a plan of what you're going to do, right? If you're going to work
Yep.
on two strike approach, if you're going to work on, right center gap, things like that. So there's just a lot of detail behind everything you do when you're training.
Oh man. And what are some of the things as you have gone through and started this journey? I can only imagine it's been a learning process as well. But what are some of the things that have stood out to you that like, man, I should now go on to doing this because you do so much from even techniques when you have the gear on, off gear, what you're doing there, even down to the food that you eat, like you just talked about.
hmm
What has kind of stood out to you is go, hey, I need to now put that in my videos. I need to do that. What is something that you have kind of like, aha, I need to have this in here?
I think a big thing, especially for catchers, like obviously I show our training, but
Yep.
I think mobility and like things like
Yeah.
that, kind of that side of catching is a really important thing that
Yeah.
I could add and make videos about. just because like as a catcher and especially as you get older and get into college and even at the professional level, our
Mhm.
body starts to deteriorate. So you really have to keep your body fresh and as healthy as possible, and mobility is a big part of that. So that's one thing. And then I would also say adding more things about like the throwing side of catching. I do a lot
Okay.
of receiving and blocking in my training, but I think there's a lot to talk about with throwing as well.
Mhm.
So the throwing part of catching is important.
Has there been any misconceptions that you have come by in this world? I know that there are a lot of people out there pushing a lot of content, and in the end, there are a lot of young guys that may be looking at what you're putting up there. And have you come across other places that have had a little misconceiving information, not necessarily malicious or anything, but something that you think young catchers should be aware of as they go through that you have noticed, like, hey, this ain't quite right?
Hmm. I think a really important thing to kind of answer that question is I think information that is very like cookie cutter. So
Uh-huh.
they're like,
Okay.
you have to do this or you have to be like this when you're catching. I think when people put out information like that, it can be very problematic
Uh-huh.
because catchers are different, right? Like different guys like different stances. For example, the catcher at Newton, he a lot of times will go knee down with runners on base. Whereas with me, I don't go knee down with runners on base, right?
Yep.
But certain coaches would be like, you have to do it this way. But some things work for different guys. So I think the important part when thinking about that is any information that is like set in stone and doesn't have any like willingness to change for different people is going to be
Okay.
pretty problematic.
Yeah, I can see why in a sport like this, especially in the catching position where you gotta find your own rhythm too. That
Hmm.
certainly can come into handy there. Um,
For sure.
And with this, how much time do you, and I know you focus on you going through your videos, you focus on your ability and what you can do to add value to the team, and I love that.
Hmm.
But how do you ever take some time to kind of look at what other catchers are doing that you see? I mean, not just for simple mechanic stuff that you think about with your own, but to kind of help the team in the process because we all of us look at the pitcher, right? The pitcher, the shortstop, and even you behind the backstop. But um, how much do you find yourself, or do you find yourself at all looking at what they're doing, not only to help your team there, but to help you grow?
Yeah. Uh, to start off, like for me, I'll follow like a bunch of catchers on Instagram and things like that
Okay,
and
yeah,
learn new drills and things like that. But then also in a team aspect, like there's a lot of things you can look at during games, like look at
okay,
the opposing team's catcher to
uh-huh,
help your team on the bases. So if you're noticing the catcher like lobs the ball back to the pitcher and isn't being lazy, you can take advantage of that and possibly get
okay,
stolen bases and things like that. And also if you're noticing like a catcher maybe isn't the best at like blocking or doesn't really have that instinct on dirt balls, you can be really really aggressive to take that extra base. So there's things you can definitely look for at an opposing team's catcher to help your team.
yeah. And man, so many things that already that you've mentioned that I go, man, during a game, during a thought, that so many things that just aren't thought of by others that you're already
Hmm.
referencing that you've gone through it extensively. Is there an underrated part of catching? Is there something that in the end that um, I don't want to say there's nothing overrated about the catcher position because
Hmm.
man, that's a tough thing to do. That's tough. You're a certain type of breed behind there that I don't think many people can match here. But is there an underrated aspect of the game of catching?
One thing I'll say for this is it's becoming less underrated. I would say I think it used to be really, really underrated, but
Uh-huh.
something that's become really important at the catcher position is the way you receive the ball from the pitcher. And
Yep.
kind of the new school method is you like put your glove close to the ground and then you'll raise it up, kind of like that, like up into the
Yep.
air. So like on a low pitch, you'd bring the ball up into the strike zone.
Got it.
And the kind of like the science and studies behind that is like you will get a lot more strike calls when you do that. Like umpires, I don't know like necessarily how it like works in their brain, but you will get a lot more strike calls when you use that method. And so that's kind of an underrated part that people don't think about. Typically you just think catchers catch the ball and
Mhm.
pitchers are like the ones throwing the strike, but a lot of times the way the catcher catches the ball can help pitchers get more strikes and over the game it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. I can only imagine there. Certainly, one other thing too. You get into the weather that Iowa has. And
Hmm.
this has to do with the debate of whether baseball stays where it is right now in the summer or go to the spring. But I got to ask you, you have all that gear on, right? And some people argue in the heat, man, that can cook you a little bit. But on the other side of it, you get really cold, and I
Hmm.
mean that can play a factor into it here as well. How do you handle the temperature? I mean, what's it like being a catcher through those varying degrees of temperature? How do you kind of handle those, and where do you see yourself preferring? Obviously, we'd love 60 degrees, a little bit of sun, a little bit of wind there. We'd love the perfect time all the time, but
Hmm.
how do you handle the weather, and kind of where do you feel it's best to have that season, whether it be in the spring or here as it is in the summer?
Yeah, being a catcher, it gets really, really hot. And
Yeah.
kind of how I kind of work with that and cope with that is I'll drink a lot of water before games just to
Yep.
stay hydrated throughout the day. And then also, like during the games, I'll make sure to get like cold towels to put on my neck and stuff. And that really helps cool me down throughout the game. So typically, when I'm doing those things, the hot weather doesn't affect me too much. But obviously, you still do get affected by it. But I am pretty big on having it in the summer, especially where we are in Iowa,
Yeah.
because in the spring it's really rainy and really cold typically for us. And I think our season we'd have a lot more rainouts and things like that throughout the
Mhm.
season. And you'll see in states like Minnesota and states kind of more up north there that do play in the
Yep.
spring still, they don't get nearly as many games as we do in Iowa because they're going to have a lot more like weather related things and a lot more
Mm.
rainouts and things like that. So I really like it in the summer because I feel like we can have a longer season. The only drawback is we don't get to play summer baseball quite as much, like through Perfect Game or PBR and things like that.
Yeah.
But I like it in the summer for the high school season because I think it makes our season, we have a lot more games and it's a lot better overall.
Now, when you with switching just a little bit, going back here, one of the things I also like about what you put out there with your videos is that again, you're chronicling the day, you're chronicling what you're doing. It's
Mm-hmm.
really authentic. There is no splicing together highlights of the day. You really put in everything there, and it shows the raw footage, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, I wanted to take up when you're not talking about food and you're not just catching techniques and stuff like that. I love when whether you're warming up, exercising about that. How important has that been? Just in terms of you talk about mobility, and so I wanted to get the talk on warm ups. Stuff like that. What do you do when it comes to warm ups? Getting yourself ready, prepared. What workouts have kind of worked out well for you. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you can always go and check out what Anderson is doing on Instagram as well. But for those who haven't seen, what are kind of the big go-tos when it comes to warm-ups and just overall workouts that you go to?
So for kind of warming up as a catcher, it's really important, I would say even more than other positions, to get a good warm up in. And
Yep.
for me personally, I kind of do two parts to a warm up. So I'll do a static warm up and then also a dynamic warm up. A
Okay.
static warm up is just movements that you hold, right? So that could be like just standing and touching your toes or sitting in a deep squat, things like that. It's movements that you hold and really stretch for a long time. And then for the dynamic portion, that's when you kind of, it's more movement based. So that's like walking stretches, like pulling your knee to your chest, and RDL, which is like bending down in a hamstring stretch. So you'll have, I kind of do both of those. And then also, like before games, I'll
Yep.
make sure to get prep in for my catching work, right? So I'll go
Right.
down to the bullpen. Typically, when the other team's doing infield, outfield, I'll go down to the bullpen and I'll get some receiving work in, get blocking work in, even get more mobility work in just to really prep my body to go out on the field soon after. So that's kind of what I do for the mobility portion.
Man, love that. There's again so much on there, and again, ladies and gentlemen, always catch up what Anderson does social media wise. But now I got to ask here: I guess just got done talking about a whole recruiting conversation, and I know that you've gone through this process here, Anderson, as well. And again,
Hmm.
congratulations on heading off to the next level here. But I got to
Yeah, thank you.
ask, what has that process been for you? And I ask that solely from the standpoint of in today's transfer portal world extraordinaire. It just seems like there's high school guys may have a little bit of a I guess I don't know how to say this right, but is it high school guys have a challenge, an even bigger challenge now? It seems like because they have to now
Hmm.
go and battle that transfer portal, NIL, if that ever comes into play. How has the recruiting process been like for you throughout all this challenge? What is take me through just a little bit of how you managed to manage such a complicated process?
Hmm. So for me, it kind of started my senior year fall, right? And
Yep.
that's kind of when, after my junior year baseball season, that's when the schools started reaching out to me. I got D3 interest, some JUCO interest, and a little bit of NAI interest. So that was kind of where that was all at for me.
Yep.
And then I really kind of decided I wanted to go the JUCO path.
Mhm.
And the reason for that was just because at the D3 level, especially, the amount of training you get with the team in the fall is a lot more restricted than at the
Yeah.
JUCO level. At the JUCO level, you can do a ton of training in the fall, and it's a lot of hands-on work from the coaches, so you'll get good instruction, right? But
Yep.
at the D3 level, you can still train a ton by yourself, and you can get a lot of good work in, but the hands-on work that you can do with the coaches is a lot less. So
Yeah.
I ended up picking the JUCO route just because I thought that would be better overall for my development. And then I ended up on Marshalltown because one of my former coaches that I put, or he coached me all throughout travel ball and things like that. He
Yeah.
actually got the assistant coaching job there. So that was a really big factor. And I love playing for him. And I thought being able to be with him for 2 more years would be amazing for my development. So that
Yeah.
was kind of my process. And then I just feel like with the new transfer portal stuff, the big thing is you have to just really think about where you're going to develop best, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's important to think that like everybody can transfer anywhere now, but you still should try to go to a school that you think is going to fit you well and that you're going to be loyal to, right? Because
Yep.
you don't want to just go to a school thinking, "Oh, I'm going to go here and get out of here in 1 year" if you're going to like a D3 school. Whereas kind of the JUCO path, I mean, you're going there for 2 years, but that's how it is. So
Yep.
I think it's important to still be loyal to your school and things like that. And then another thing I think is really important, and this is kind of going in a different direction, but
Mhm.
I think as a baseball athlete, it's really important to be patient in the process, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of players or like colleges can start reaching out to you in your junior year,
Yep.
right? And for me, especially, and for a lot of players, I didn't get any colleges reaching out to me at right as my junior year started, which would be after my sophomore season. No
Yeah.
colleges reached out to me. And a lot of players will get kind of stressed out about that and be like, where are colleges? Am I going to even be able to play in college? But if you stay patient, right, and you get through your junior season
Yep.
and have a good season there, that's when a lot of schools will start reaching out to you because really the only schools that are recruiting players in right after their sophomore year is like D1 schools, those top caliber schools. But the JUCOs, the D3s, they're going to be looking for your class more after your junior season. So it's
Mhm.
important to be patient throughout the process and just trust the process that as long as you keep working hard and really focusing on performing well, that the schools will come.
Yeah, and certainly they did come for you. And again, congratulations. The Tigers are going to absolutely rock it with you there. And
Hmm.
I'll be honest, Anderson, I'm okay waiting just a little bit to see just another bit here in a Pella uniform. And speaking of Pella, one thing I wanted to get the take on. I chatted with Lake Cowman before during that PBR Spring League, and I wanted to get
Hmm.
to you at this as well. Last year you guys kind of took the world by storm in a sense. I don't necessarily want to say surprised everybody, but you kind of blew by some teams, and last year kind of started right off the bat a little rough, and in the end you made it to the state tournament. What was that season like for you? Simply from the standpoint of you guys ended up being again one of the top 8 teams in 3A. What was that season like? How do you captivate and culminate that?
Yeah, that season, it was kind of a crazy season and a really fun season being with that, right? We didn't have any seniors last year, so
Okay.
it was like a ton of young guys on our team, and we had a lot of talent, but we never really had all been on the field and been able to put that together before
Yep.
the season. So kind of at the start, we knew our potential was super high, but also we're all young, so we have to really lock it in. So
Mm-hmm.
we didn't necessarily start off the best, right? We lost our first game of the season, things like that, but as the season went on and as we got forward, we all started really clicking together. And it was just a lot of fun. We had really good like team chemistry overall, and as the season went on, we kept growing stronger and stronger, and that led us to have that really good push late in the season. We were able to win our sub state and go to state, and while obviously it didn't end where we wanted to there, overall it
Yeah.
was a really good season, and it gave us a lot of confidence going into this year with how good we did last year.
And you're rolling this year. A strong season. The schedule certainly doesn't give you any favors
Hmm.
right off the bat. And
Hmm.
again, conference wise, again, that's only going to get it just gets more and more and more and challenging. And you go through again this conference, which has all has the gambit here, 4A, 3A squads, and so here you are. I got to ask, what are your thoughts on the season that you guys have had so far? I mean, in the end, 12 wins. I think a lot of teams would give their left arm, just to have 12 wins at this point. You guys,
Hmm.
I mean, just 3 losses at this point, 2 of them coming within conference, too. You're always going to
Hmm.
get beat up in the conference, but you DCG, Indianola, Norwalk, even Oskaloosa, they're having a strong season this year
Hmm.
as well. And one of the things I got to ask, too, what are your thoughts? How much have you guys translated from last year, what you're doing this year? Again, knowing that you didn't have any seniors that left the roster.
Yeah, kind of a big thing we talked about going to this year is we're not that underrated team anymore, right? Like
Right.
now we showed last year we were kind of underrated the whole year and we surprised a lot of people. This year though, we returned everyone, so we're going to get everyone's best now, right? There's not going to be any more just free wins. Teams aren't just going to roll over for us. Every team's going to go out there and give us our best. So that was a big mindset for us starting the year, and I think we've embraced that really well. We've
Yep.
brought energy to a lot of games, and even in some of our losses, right, we've competed well and things like that, and we're not just kind of giving up and thinking like, oh, this is going to be so easy for us. We're really embracing that mindset of this is going to be a hard year, but we are a good team and we beat good teams, right? So
Yep.
that's kind of been a big thing for us starting the year.
And of course, you're doing a great job yourself, batting over 400, 24 total bases. Fantastic year for you. Again, that continues on with what is, again, a grueling schedule, a gauntlet here as we go through. But
Mhm.
Anderson, as we wrap up here, I got to ask some more food questions here for you.
Okay.
I got to ask, uh, what's the go-to meal? Let's think outside ballpark food right now. What's kind of the
Hmm.
go-to meal for you if you get the chance? You can eat whatever you want. I mean, it doesn't matter. No restrictions here. What's the go-to meal for you outside the ballpark?
It's been changing. Food for me changes a lot, right? Because I like basically every food,
There
so
you
it
go.
kind of depends on how I'm feeling. But right now, what I've really been going for is, and this still kind of applies to baseball, so I don't know. It's not like ballpark food, but after we win home games, we'll go to Applebee's, and
There you
I
go.
always get the same thing there. I'll get the all-you-can-eat chicken tenders
Ooh.
with fries, and then I'll get a side of spinach and artichoke dip. So that's my go-to right now, and yeah, that's like my favorite food right now. So that's what we're going for there.
So the Anderson Trim stamp of approval here for Applebee's. That's the mark if we want to go ahead and have another good meal. Uh,
Yep.
Also, let's shift our focus to just ballpark. You get in there, you think of ballparks, hot dogs, nachos, all that kind of stuff. You get the chance and say it's an off day, or you get the season done. You're celebrating. You're celebrating a big win at the end of the season, and then you get to just kind of be you for a little bit before you have to move on to the next thing.
Hmm.
You get to go to a ballpark. Doesn't matter where, when. What's the ballpark food of choice for you?
You can't go wrong with a ballpark hot dog. I love
There you
them.
go.
I typically don't eat them like before games and stuff, but if it's an off day and stuff, I'm for sure getting a ballpark hot dog. And then I'm also really big on like a walking taco, and then
Ooh.
I'll get jalapenos. I'll put jalapenos in it and get a lot of cheese in there, and that's a big thing for me too.
How much do you mess around? I don't want to say it in a bad way, but mess around with food in terms of doctoring it up. I mean, do you add more than that in there? Do you kind of experiment with your food a little bit? And I only ask that because not too long ago I got to eat a cricket on a stick at a major league ballpark. So I got to ask,
Mm.
what's the experimentation level for you when it comes to food?
What I'll say is I try a lot of new food,
There you
but
go.
typically I won't like I'm gonna stick to like foods I like. Like I'll always be
There
willing
you
to
go.
try new food, but if I like a food, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm not really gonna try to change foods I like. So that's kind
There you
of
go.
where I'm at with that.
You now again, you're a guy who eats a lot of healthy. You keep your body like a temple. So with this, it may be a little less. Do you dive in? Is there a favorite candy bar? Do you go to? I always loved Snickers at the end of every game when I got the chance to play. But hey, what's the big recommendation? Do you have one when it comes to bringing a quick snack to the table?
For my favorite like candy bar, it would have to be the Crunch Bar. It's kind of, in
Ooh,
my opinion, underrated, but I love the Crunch Bar. I like the texture a lot, and I feel like it's kind of just like a Hershey bar with a bit more, and I like the kind of the crunch to it. So that's probably my favorite candy bar there.
there you go. And then winding down here, there's all the debate now with different fields and what you can't, having seeds or not having seeds. But I got to ask, if you had to be posed the question right now, what would you rather go for, gum or would you go seeds? Both. Where do you stand on that debate?
I like them both a lot, but I would have to pick seeds. I like all the flavors and getting to try them all, so I'm a big seed guy.
Hey, absolutely love that. Hey, I am too. I think in the end, I like where you can change it up a little bit. The seed flavors are the smack and
Hmm.
the new smack and flavor. I haven't tried those yet, but I can't wait to do that here. Uh,
Yeah.
have you gotten the chance to try? I mean, is there a certain brand that you love most?
I like Bigs a lot. That's probably my favorite. David's good. I haven't had the smacking much either, but
Yeah.
I was able to try. What did I try? I think it was like a churro flavor, and
Oh,
it was interesting for sure, but it was kind of something different. So
yeah.
yeah, I'll try all of them, but I would have to probably say Bigs for my favorite.
Well, hey, man, I can't wait to try them all, but certainly I'll let you know on that. But hey, Anderson, thanks again. Everybody, check out what Anderson Schirm's got going on Instagram and follow what he's doing. It's really fun to see as he chronicles organically what he does. But man, thank you for not only just excelling on the field here, but thanks again for what you do. A lot of young catchers out there have a lot of good content to look at, so appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Just a side note here, our broadcast of Van Meter and Pleasantville is tonight, but again, the time has been adjusted due to weather. 5 p.m. first pitch. 4:45 pregame here for you. We'll get you all caught up on the road that's been so far for both teams and what's in store going on ahead. So don't go anywhere. More chance to catch up on some great games here. Again, Van Meter hosting Pleasantville tonight, 5 p.m. We'll be there, and we'll make sure to get you all set and ready for what is going to be a dynamic kind of game. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Any questions, thoughts, concerns, more? I mean, we want to highlight any things that you want to highlight as well. As always, make sure to hit us up at iabaseball, the number one. That's iabaseball, the number one at gmail.com. Great way to get us your highlights, just your overall thoughts, comments, and more. We want to hear from you. I want to give, and speaking of that, a big shout out here to Caden Koth. Thank you so very much. He says North Cedar won their first game this year by a 15-10 margin, and first game in more than 15 runs since the 2010 or 2012 season. It's a great step forward for the program. Is looking to rebound and get back to it. But again, big shout out here, North Cedar picking up their first win of the year, 15-10. Again, very big mark there. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for tuning in. We're going to say sayonara, and as we like to do to wrap things up, stay safe on the base pass. Thanks again, guys.